Hey there everyone, today's video is school fire alarm system replacement. This is going to be a fun video and I do always like showing these projects and you guys seem to enjoy them. So today's project is, as the title suggests, elementary school fire alarm replacement. This elementary school has a Edwards 6500 conventional fire alarm system in it, and it crapped out recently a few months ago when the system got an internal ground fault. So there's nothing that can be done about an internal ground fault other than trying to fix it yourself, which isn't really the right thing. You should be doing is to fix your own fire alarm defective parts. Nor can you get parts for these 6500s anymore, so it's time to put a new system in this school. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. We are going to be installing a new system in this entire school. We'll be going with a Notifier addressable system in this building. We also have these 4 portables at the back of the school too, which currently the one portable actually houses its own complete separate fire alarm system that looks after those portables. So we'll be getting rid of that weird setup in that portables there and making one big system for the whole school. Now this is going to be a complete addressable install other than a few sections of the system that will be left conventional for various reasons. Anyways guys, hope you enjoy. We are replacing a Edwards 6500 system that has a ground fault on it with a Notifier NFS 640 fire alarm system. This is going to be a full addressable swap. Possibly the crawl space will be left conventional, not sure. We also have 4 portables at this school, and this is a elementary school built in, I believe, the 50s or 60s. I want to say 60s. It is a mostly single floor building. We do have a basement in one section and a crawl space. Since we're doing an addressable swap, that means changing all smoke detectors, heat detectors, which there currently aren't any smokes. They will be changed. The hallway heat detectors and hallway heat detectors and stairwell heat detectors will be changed to smokes, and we will be changing to addressable pull stations. And because we're doing addressable, we have to put isolators on many parts of this SLC loop to break it up, to make sure if there's one short on a zone, it doesn't take out the whole building. We also have to work on the portables, where there is an entirely separate fire alarm system in the portables, which is currently an Edwards IO64 addressable panel monitoring the conventional portables with monitor modules. During this video, I need you guys to remember that none of the decisions and installation methods in this video are my decisions. If there's something you don't like, you can comment it on it, but there's no need to call me an idiot and threaten me that I am putting people's lives at risk for things that weren't my decision to make in the first place. This is the Edwards 6500 panel right here. The clicking is from the ground fault. That is an internal ground fault, and the buzzer has been disconnected, so it will stop beeping. These are the zones out of it. It looks like we have 10 zones. One of these zones is monitoring the addressable system in the portables, so it's a bit of a funny setup where if one portable goes into alarm, you don't actually know which one it is from this system. This will just tell you portables in general, and then you have to go out to the portables to actually see what portable it is. You have to go to the separate fire alarm system, or if the school goes into alarm, it will set off the portable system, but the portable system won't tell you where in the school. You have to come to this system.
There, you have to go as an SLC loop and isolate each portable.
We have lots of the old Edwards heat detectors as this system. This obviously isn't an original Bell, but it is a Bell system. 270 SPO pull stations. So we have quite a few devices in this school that need to be changed. Here's a little look at the second floor of the school. The basement is really only under this area right here. That's about it from this zone here. Our school is a big L shape over here. There's the long way of the school, and those are the portables there. Four portables over here. The portables are important because they all are a separate building, so the SLC has to be broken up and isolated for each portable. This modular here is the main one where the electrical feed comes in from, as well as the fire alarm where it first comes into this one. We also have blue strobes on the outside, which may or may not be connected, so those may need control modules installed to run them. These are also all Edwards devices. This is the addressable Edwards IO64 that is installed in the portables. So the zone from the 6500 in the school is monitoring this whole system in general for alarm, and this system is also monitoring the school for alarm. So neither system gives specifics on the other system as far as what's activated, but they do activate each other. Since this is an addressable system, these here are the modules that monitor each conventional portable out from there, and I believe this is the relay possibly that is tying into the main school building. So this should be coming out as well, and the portables will all be made addressable, or we may mount monitor modules here to keep the same idea of really the rest of the school, turning those zones into addressable to run addressable to this location, and then leaving the portables possibly conventional. I'm not sure what will happen there, but we will find out during this project. I'm just going to give a longer intro on this first video of the project, and each video going on day by day should be more getting involved into the project, and I'll do less explaining at the start, but I thought I would give a little rundown of what is currently here for the system, because we could also mount a Notifier XP6 something for the zone monitor module, basically a multi-zone monitor module, kind of like a dual monitor module, but more than just two. A big monitor module being able to monitor lots of conventional circuits, which this building won't even need to be a powered one, as it's all just contact closure devices, nothing powered from it. This is the fire alarm annunciator here. Thing I want to add with this replacement, this is a one-for-one replacement, meaning we are just replacing the devices that are already there, for the exception of the hallway and stairwell heat detectors, as those need to be changed and upgraded to smoke detectors. As far as every other device though, they will be grandfathered in, as the building was built a long time ago and it's obviously not to current codes, but it isn't realistically practical to bring these buildings up to newer codes. I do believe we will also need to lower some of the pull stations, which I think we will do on the outside of the wall. Maybe we'll fish it in the wall. It will depend on the wall, as this building does contain vermiculite in the block walls, and there may be asbestos containing gluing compounds in some of the other drywall joints of the building. So that is definitely something to be mindful of. Is the first day of the replacement. This is Wednesday, August 2nd, I believe, and we're going to start the replacement today. Alrighty, let's go. L series wall mount, horn strobes, outdoor advanced ceiling mount, L series. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20 NBG12LXs. I think there's around 157 FST 951s and align plates. Some more of the 951 FST 951s, and all of our detector bases. Each one of these is a box of 10 detector bases. Then a couple of these detectors here, FST 951s A, those were RAs. So I think these are just fixed temp. Those are rate of rise as well. And the line plates. Cabinet here. This is the B4 cabinet. Booster NAC panel. Door covers. 640 CPU. LEM 320. That's to give the extra SLC loop. Batteries for the main system. Batteries for the booster panel. Annunciator. ACM 24AT. KDM-R2. That will be the display for the 640 CPU. BPXP right there. Isolators, ISO XAs. XP6, and I think that's going to monitor some zones. Probably crawl space will do. Annunciator enclosure. And then just these, I think that's the covers for one of the doors inside the panel to mount on either side of the KDM. Or
Looks a lot wider than this though. Shit above the ceiling.
we're going to start with horn strobes and pull stations. So go around starting at one end, put in all our horn strobes, and start with our pull station. Once that's done, then we'll move on to detectors. This is my cart I've loaded up here.
So I'm guessing that's the EOL below it.
Could be.
Does that have to change? You should check it, I guess.
Yeah, it will.
Should I get a clipboard to sit, like, can we write what number we put on here, Nick?
Pulls, yeah, mark it on the piece of paper.
I'll get a pen. Separate piece of paper or on that one?
Looks like the black is negative, white is, or black is positive, white is negative.
Stevie, you're not doing the hallway heat, so replace those with smokes.
Yeah, let's do the class.
You guys are doing the classroom.
Yeah, perfect.
Oh, Wayne, there's just one.
We can do this.
There's one that we're gonna leave. Get down here. Get down here.
Yeah, it should be a problem. Yeah, look at there. Me? No. Just taking the old ones down?
Yeah.
That'd be huge, actually, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just gonna.
I'm gonna save them if I can, but.
Oh yeah, I'm just gonna throw everything in this bucket and then.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's what it's up.
What do you guys do with the old fire bell?
I take them, most of them. I've got a bunch of systems at my house, like I use for instructional systems, like demo systems.
The thing is, I wouldn't mind if you wanted to give me one of them. I'm the music teacher here.
Sure.
I just need direction.
It's neat because they do actually have a pin.
Take that one there.
That one there? Oh, goody. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Just you need to get it to the classroom.
You and Wayne are doing all the heat everywhere except for the hallway.
Thank you. That is so cool.
Yeah, no problem.
And that's just because we're trying, they have all have to be.
I was told to set them to low volume, but I disagree. It's not going to be loud enough. Video that just explaining what's going on. That we've got one guy going around putting up all the bases since they're all the same. So those can go up anywhere. Yeah, so one guy's going to throw up bases everywhere. I'm going to work on the horns and going to grab him some heats. I've got the heat detectors here. So yeah, you want these to set the, you're going to
So, you have poles with you or?
Yep. I'll get on those.
Put it on your head if you want, but like you have to put it on. Because we don't want to lose you at the
One problem here is we don't know the colors. They've switched. I'm assuming white's positive, black's negative, but I would have thought that on the bell, and they were using black as positive, white as negative, so the colors are completely whack in this school.
It doesn't say on the old detector what one.
I know, yeah. Yeah, that'll be pull one. We are putting up just the device bases for now, and we'll set the address and leave the head around but not put up.
I'll label now, but we don't really have to fit it with them at the moment, right?
No.
And when we do that, we'll call that number one.
Well, no, because that'll have to correspond with what Wayne's setting them to.
Oh shit, how do we do that?
Well, you'll have to talk to each other because we can't end up with the same ID address. I know. This is why I wanted a list pre-done.
I know.
So what do we decide on that we're gonna start the smokes at for
101, and then go 102, 103.
101?
Yeah.
Okay.
So are you gonna set it and leave it out here?
Yeah, I'll just get the address set and then.
We could set 3 right here and put them here, Nick.
Okay.
But you gotta put them in the box and label them.
This will be 101. Okay, 102. We're starting off at way high with the detectors to make sure that with having 2 different people or 3 different people working in different sections, we don't end up with the same address. So I'll just leave this device hanging around the general area. So we've got one guy going around doing all the heats in the classrooms. I'm doing corridor smoke detectors, changing the heats out, and putting pull stations up and horns. We don't want to put them up yet because the colors are so screwed up if the colors have been crossed, so we'll need to come back and not only meter but check, like meter and check polarity at each device. make this address 2 for the modules. 2. Not going to fully mount it though, since we may need to come back and check polarity.
Up there. It's got one.
So with every device I put in, I mark it down on the map with a red dot for pull, address number 2, so that, because the sooner we get all our addresses in, even if the devices aren't mounted, like I've already addressed that one and put it there, even if it's not in, the quicker we get the address, he can make it the program so we can start the system going. This one will be address 3. That's just on the other side of those fire doors, right here. And I made that address 3. In this boiler room here, we will have a fixed temp, so FST 951A, not RA, because RA is the rate of rise devices. And no pull station in here, so I will move on, probably do another bell. Red and black together, that totally makes sense, right? Okay, it's really hard to say what's positive here. It's really 50-50, because white seems positive, but so does red. This detector will be 104. Again, just going to leave it general area. I have a pull station up here, so I'll do that. Address number 4 for this one. So Wayne, would you, like, we really don't know, right? Like, would you guess this is positive, this is negative, or is this positive? Like, again with this, I'm really just hoping for the best. We don't know what is positive or negative. Just opened a box here and it came with a 851 and it's a ionization 851. Weird.
That looks better.
So we only have one bell in this whole section, and this is why I want to put them on high volume. Number 5, yo. And again, I'm not putting these all the way on because we still don't know if this polarity is right at all, and we'll have to take it back off to do our ground fault and open verification at the end anyways. number 6. Just updated these last 2 pulls I put in, 5 and 6. Got one at the end of the hallway now. Oh, one there too. Oh, one there too. Okay, there's a few. More smokes too. And a bunch of devices down this big hallway. Alrighty, it looks like we're getting into the time lapses, which the time lapses don't have audio. A lot of the other bits of the video I've sped up while editing, but the time lapses were recorded at the time without audio as the time lapse footage. But that gives me a good chance to do a voiceover.
So is Meridian, you mean? Yeah, I have some.
So I showed in a little clip earlier in the video of the old 6500 can being removed, and the old can was a taller cabinet than the new one, and it went straight into those conduits dropping out of the ceiling. However, the new panel is lower down, and we need room to splice the zones into wire they will tie into their isolated SLC branches, so we've installed this gutter box which will be above our new fire alarm panel. I talked about it briefly earlier, but it was very brief. So what we're doing with setting the addresses is the guy that's going around installing heat detectors or preparing heat detectors is starting at address 0, working his way up, and then with the pull stations, because they're modules and that's separate, I'm also starting at 0, working my way up. However, what do I do with my smoke detectors, because those are also detectors, and obviously we don't want to end up setting the smoke detectors to the same address as one of the heat detectors. That's why I started at 100, because we knew we weren't going to get over 100 heat detectors. At least we wouldn't for this day, and if we got close we could start off with a different number. That's why I started at 101. There's a whole bunch of the heat detectors in the gym to do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 gym heat detectors. Now, as far as me starting at address 100 with the detectors, it really doesn't matter. We might end up with a gap in devices, say we don't have 100 heat detectors. I think we will, so I think eventually I'll have to start going way higher than 100, but it doesn't matter. They don't have to be in order. It just gave me a big window that was clear, basically. Like if I'm starting at 100 and the other guys are starting at 1, it's going to be a while until he catches up to 100. And then once he does, as long as basically the heat detector people and the smoke detector people communicate with each other and say, hey, I'm installing heat detectors and I've hit address 100, you started at 100, that's when I will say start at 159 and start working my way down, and then he can start from my last detector up. It actually sounds really complicated now that I'm explaining it, but it's not that bad once you have devices wrote down, so you know whereabouts you can set your devices to where it's not going to be a problem, if that makes sense. I apologize for how complicated this sounds. I promise in real life it wasn't this complicated. It went pretty smooth. I believe we had 157 heat detectors ordered, and we're probably around not more than 20 smoke detectors in total, which that will be over the capacity of 159 per SLC loop. However, I think a lot of those were ordered for the crawl space and they won't actually be installed, so we may be okay to just run off the one loop. Going back to that max loop capacity of 159, I don't think we will go over that capacity, though if we did, we have a 640 system, and we also have that LEM 320 card, so we can easily add another SLC to branch off to some of those existing zones. And that's exactly what we're doing, is we're just branching off to the zones, because the zones are still there. But obviously there's only one SLC, and there's probably, 8, 10 zones in the school. Not all of those will be made SLC. Some will stay zones because they're the crawl space. But the point's the same. We have a lot of zones branching off and only one SLC. And you don't want to just T-tap it. Not to mention, it's not legal. You have to isolate each fire zone from each other. Should there be a short circuit in one zone, you don't want it to take down your entire fire alarm system. That's why we install isolator modules.
So office in the morning, what time do you stop?
the isolator that we are installing, we're not going to install isolator modules. We're going to install what Notifier calls an ISO-6A. It's a 6-loop isolator card, so you can run your SLC into it, and then it provides 6 isolated outputs, and that's what will tie onto the old zones for the old conventional devices that are now getting addressable devices put on, and that is what will act as our isolator and can isolate, meaning breaking that circuit. Basically, if one trips, it'll open up like a circuit breaker and it's self-restoring, where after the fault's gone, it will close back in and re-enable that SLC to function. Obviously, if that trips, you lose your connection to all those devices on the loop, or on that circuit, I should say, but it's better than losing it on your entire SLC in general. Isolator modules are extremely important to having a robust addressable system.
So we'll be looking for the positive negative with our meter. It's not the ones that like opposite when they're.
No,
Don't
that's
some.
only bell circuits.
Huh?
That's only bell circuits. Yeah.
Now, it's alright if that isolator talk didn't make sense. I will go over isolator modules and how they're installed in this system over the next parts of this system installation video. You can see now there's still lots of work to do in that gutter box, but the new panel cabinet is now in place.
Yeah, but this is where will he going?
Those two guys going? What's it labeled under there? Does it say?
Well, this is light neutral.
In this next clip, I'm going to show this isolator card in the panel. Also, I originally thought we would be putting this in the portables, but since we're leaving them conventional, we don't need them isolated. So we've powered it up, and one of our center zones isolator is tripped, so we got something wired with 2 wires on the same terminal. Positive, negative, same terminal. We're having problems with tripped isolators, so we're going around trying to find what part of the circuit is shorted. Well, actually, we know it's not it's hard to explain. If you have 24 volts, a reverse wired pull station will also trip the isolator, but you'll still have 24 volts. You got to meter it at that pull station, find out which one is reversed. Yeah, so right here we're getting negative. Negative 24, so we know it's backwards, and the reason it's 24 is the SLC isn't communicating yet. It's just power right now. So we got to go through, correct any reverse wired pull stations, and meter all the detector spots before we put a detector up. Here again, negative 24 going from the positive to negative, so I need to flip it around. Here's an example of once they're flipped around, 23 volts. Positive on the positive, negative on the negative, so that's good. That's what we want. 23 positive. Now that we have the SLC on, I can actually check every detector as I go, opposed to coming back after. So 23 volts, that's good. That's wired right. This is so much nicer now, having the SLC tied in, so I can actually meter as I go with putting up all these smokies. I'm still doing smokes and pulls and bells, and the other guys are working on heats. Not so much even putting them up, but just getting the polarity right. And then one of the other guys was just sitting in the room, setting the address and writing the room number on them. So that's helpful. Okay, I guess I'll do this bell while I'm here. These are just waiting outside of their spot to go. Address already set. I put some text in the video closer to the beginning talking about what I'm going to be setting the volume as I was told to set them to low volume, and that should be loud enough, but I disagree. So I know most of this project isn't my decision. I don't have any input, but I decided to make my own input here and set them to high volume. If they don't like it, we can turn it down in the future. However, from past experience of doing these schools, that's never the case. It's always too quiet, and we're trying to get it louder, and we're having to go add more devices after the fact, and we can never quite meet the decibel requirements, as these horns to begin with are not as loud as the bells. There's already few bells. It's oftentimes one per entire fire separated zone, and they're not as loud, or sorry, the new devices aren't as loud as bells. Something you gotta watch out for in this building, being it was built in the 50s to 60s, I'm not exactly sure when, is a lot of this fire alarm system is wired in mineral insulated cable, which, if you're not familiar with mineral insulated cable, it's a copper clad cable where it's like copper on the whole outside, and then the conductors are insulated with powder essentially in between them. It's really just powder, and you can't move the wires around in the box too much, or the powder won't separate it and it'll hit the outside and it'll short out to ground. So you got to be really careful of that. If you noticed looking at the parts and material list that I went over at the start of this video, there wasn't any smoke detectors, and I had to call them out afterwards, after I saw the parts list before the actual project started, because we got the parts in a couple weeks before, and said, hey guys, there's no smoke detectors. Is this going to be a problem? And the problem is the guy that went around to check all the devices didn't realize that we had to change heats in the corridors and stairwells to smokes, so he just wrote down lots of heats for a one-to-one replacement, and there was no smokes before. So that's why those had to get brought in separately after the main order of parts and material. So for these ones now that I actually know my polarity is right, come on, I can actually put the detector head up on these since I know I won't have to come back to it. So this will be 110. So we'll go to the 11's place there for 110, and we'll leave the 1's place at 0. Now nothing will happen since it's not programmed in yet, but we can put them up, which is nice. Black and black for positive makes no sense. Having a system like this where the colors of the wiring is so screwed up isn't even all that bad. Having the colors completely backwards from normal isn't terrible as long as it's backwards consistently. That's what slows you down with a system like this, when it's backwards in lots of ways, but then some spots it's normal, so it's not consistently screwed up.
I know you're not doing any bells, but just so you know, black is positive for the bells. Black is positive, white's negative.
Actually, the bells aren't too bad. They're pretty consistently weird, but it's the zones that are a problem because polarity didn't matter before, so they kind of just ran colors all over the place.
Are you checking polarity on my detectors? Are you checking polarity on my detectors? That one I can already tell you is wrong, I think. We'll have to go around later and change all the end of lines too, right? Well, take them out for the zones, but we'll have to change them for the bells.
Yeah. Period,
Not for the bells.
The bells stick. Not the bells, no.
Not
process of installing devices is much easier once the panel's on and the SLC is supplying power, so we can test for what's negative and positive instead of going over the devices that have already been wired up. Now, if you had the idea of why didn't you connect it to a battery or something, well, that was our idea too, and I don't honestly know why no one did it, because we had talked about the idea. Or my idea that I didn't actually tell anyone is you could even just take, say, what you need to be positive and short it to ground at the gutter box we're putting in, and that way everything out in the field, I would think you could test continuity to ground. That's just my idea, and if I was running this job, I would have tried to come up with something like that, so before the panel was on, we'd be able to tell. That would have saved us a little bit of time for sure to do this, being able to see, but now that the SLC is on, it's not too bad. Okay, black is positive.
Hey, Jamie. You know if Jamie's down there?
The bar panel room.
Yo, Jamie, you there? Yeah. Oh, what address you want this one at here?
Which one is it?
It's a pull station. Is that like 10 or 11 probably?
I think it's 1, 11, 10.
10, okay.
Yeah. All I can see is where is the roll station going on that one section here.
There's another guy dropping off the detectors. Like, these are heat, so we got 1028 above, 1028 above, 1028, 1028. So these two will be this guy, and then 2 for above. So like I said, I'm not doing heat detectors. It's the same thing as the smoke detectors. So another guy is going around doing all the heats. Right now he's working in the other section, correcting all the ones that we wired up backwards before we had the SLC on. But yeah, the colors in this, like, really nothing's predictable. Like, it's even a wrong wiring colors is fine if it's predictable, but it's not here. Some are right. So I'm not sure what I'm doing next.
I think there's some above, some below.
These classrooms don't have pull stations at the doors, surprisingly. This is just another one. So every classroom has had all the detectors dropped off, put in place. I might beat those guys with the detectors since they've got a lot. I don't have that many more bells and pulls to do. So once I catch up, I'll start working on those with them once I get my stuff done. Okay, that is right. 23 positive. Device's address is already set. These ones did all get done. I didn't do them, but they did get done. Same thing with the heats. A lot of the heats are starting to get put up. Now that we can check polarity, we can actually put the device up. It will have to come down again for ground fault checks and stuff. I'm in this massive electrical room right now. This is a big one, oh man. Little closet. Okay, voltage is good. 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 These new style dust covers are way tougher to get off. This is the annunciator here. Everything's been ripped out of that old graphic one. Obviously, we're not going to need nearly this many conductors here. Well, guys, that is it for days 1 of work. A lot of today's video was
Coffee cut by the panel. I'm losing you.
a lot of today's work was just trying to figure out what's positive and negative and troubleshooting, so that was off camera, so it may not have looked like a lot got done today, but it's definitely a start. Panel, a couple guys were working on here getting this gutter box in, terminal strips, bonds, that looks good. Got the 6 isolators mounted here. I think we're going the same style in the portables. Actually no, because we're gonna leave the portables conventional, I believe. Yeah, we're gonna leave the portables conventional as well as some of the crawl space. And yeah, this got done up for the portables. So these will be some of the knacks to feed each portable. Will probably get its own knack. I would think so. Maybe not though. And then this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zones right there, which is more than enough for our 4 portables. So yeah, guys. Alrighty, that's gonna do it for day 1 video. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, thumbs up. Any comments, questions, put those down in the comments section. And if you do enjoy my videos, make sure to subscribe. I do have an Instagram account also, at Pickle700. Anyways, guys, that's gonna do it. Thanks for watching.